On to the other big international story other than gun control and President Obama's brave move, of course. Also, Sarah Jacob is now reporting from Chicago on Tahawwur Rana's case in court. Tahawwur Rana, of course, accomplice of David Headley, established terrorist whose role in 26/11 has been established.
Hello and welcome to Eye on America. We're reporting from Chicago right now, where today in court, U.S. federal prosecutors are seeking a sentence of 30 years for Chicago businessman Tahawwur Rana. In June 2011, Rana was found guilty of providing material support to Pakistani terror group the Lashkar-e-Taiba in its failed plot to attack a Danish newspaper for publishing cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. The jury deliberated for 2 days and found him guilty, but Rana's lawyers are seeking leniency for their client. They say 52-year-old Tahawwur Rana is a kind, compassionate family man with no prior history of violence and no criminal record.
It might carry some weight, but the bottom line is that he has been convicted of a very serious offense, which is providing material support to a terrorist organization. And that is considered to be very serious. It carries many, many years.
The jury deliberated for 2 days and found him guilty, but Rana's lawyers are seeking leniency for their client. They say 52-year-old Tahawwur Rana is a kind, compassionate family man with no prior history of violence and no criminal record.
It might carry some weight, but the bottom line is that he has been convicted of a very serious offense, which is providing material support to a terrorist organization. And that is considered to be very serious. It carries many, many years of a prison sentence, and that's what's likely to happen.
According to Rana, his childhood friend David Headley was a master manipulator who fooled him into supporting his terror activities. David Coleman Headley, or Dawood Gilani, the government's key witness, pleaded guilty to planning and plotting various terror plots, including the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Pakistani-American Headley has entered into a plea bargain deal with US authorities. In return for his testimony against accomplices like Rana, he will avoid the death penalty and not be extradited to India, Pakistan and Denmark. The prosecution says the 2-week-long trial proved undoubtedly that Rana is anything but innocent, and they're asking for 30 years in prison. While Tahawwur Rana was found guilty on 2 counts, he was acquitted on the most significant count of them all, 26/11, the Mumbai attacks, which was the centerpiece of the US government's case against Rana. Moreover, 2 co-conspirators named in the indictment, Headley's ISI handler Major Iqbal and LET leader Abdul Rahman, or alias Pasha, are still at large, and Headley's wife Shazia Gilani, whom the trial revealed was aware of the plot to attack Mumbai, and she even congratulated her husband on the success of the attacks, has yet to be either charged or arrested. In Chicago, Sarah Jacob, NDTV. It's a fascinating case with numerous twists. Joining us now is someone who has followed this story right from the start, investigative reporter with ProPublica, Sebastian Rotella. Sebastian, Tahawwur Rana could face 30 years in prison, but all eyes really are on the Headley sentencing that's due next week. He was the mastermind, that's clear. Tahawwur Rana is just small fry. But can Headley really be given a just and a harsh sentence, given that the US's war on terror is far from over, and they still need him to cooperate with them against groups like the LET and the JEM?
It's a very interesting question, and there's a lot of anticipation and a lot of curiosity to see what Headley gets. On the one hand, as you say, he has cooperated, and it's a very important case in which he's given a lot of intelligence about Lashkar, about Al-Qaeda, about the involvement of officers of the ISI in terrorism, supposedly helping the U.S. and other governments gain intelligence and avoid plots. Anytime someone cooperates in the U.S. federal system, that helps their chances for a good deal. On the other hand, he has admitted to the deaths of the people who were killed in Mumbai and to very serious crimes, and he's the most important person in U.S. custody, so it's hard to imagine the U.S. federal government not seeking a reasonably serious sentence. His plea deal has guaranteed that the maximum is life. I would expect that the U.S. prosecutors will argue for less than that. He is 50 years old, so one would think that he would be getting a sentence in the neighborhood of that would leave him, if he were to have any chance of getting out of prison, it would be as an old man. The other thing to consider is the sentencing of Rana today. Rana was obviously a smaller fish than Headley. If Rana gets the worst possible sentence, which is 30 years, it would not look very good for Headley to get that amount or less.
All right, Sebastian, you've traveled from Mumbai to the Middle East reporting on the issue of terrorism. In this case, David Headley manages to avoid a death sentence. Tahawwur Rana is not even found guilty of 2611, and the co-conspirators in the US indictment are roaming free. So has the US government really achieved what it set out to in this case?
Well, I mean, I think the U.S. government, after initial, what's the word that can be used, reluctance to talk publicly about the people who were involved, has rather aggressively at least made public the charges and made it clear that important people in Lashkar and at least one officer in the ISI were involved, and charged him and issued a reward for Hafiz Saeed, the head of Lashkar. So the U.S. government has taken an increasingly tough stand on this. But yes, as you say, the important masterminds in this case, Sajid Mir of Lashkar, Major Iqbal of the ISI, other important Lashkar bosses, and others remain on the loose. So it's a real irony.
All right, Sebastian, as usual, thank you so much for your insight. Well, that's it from Chicago. But do join us later in the day to hear what the judge's verdict is about Tahawwur Rana's sentencing, because really what sentence Rana is given could be the first indicator as to what David Headley will get next week. Well, that's it from us in Chicago.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.